As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. Today, I have on guest Melissa Fackler. Melissa is the small business operations coach and event specialist at One Team Partners, where the mission is to help teams thrive every available moment. With over a decade in the hospitality industry, Melissa brings the people-first lens to business operations, rooted in the belief that people remember how you make them feel. She blends hospitality principles with smart operational strategy to help business owners build strong team cultures, avoid burnout, and create sustainable rhythms that actually work. Her goal? To help leaders stop surviving their work and start thriving in it. Today, in this episode, Melissa and I are talking all about how we can take lessons from how we treat our customers and how we approach customer service and apply it to our team so that way we can have high-functioning team members who actually like their jobs. We are talking about why you should do this. Spoiler alerts, because your team members are people that want to feel valued, and how to go about applying this in your business. Even in situations where you don't have a huge budget to be doing all these wild and crazy things for your team. We are also talking about how to make your team feel empowered in their job. So let's jump into the conversation with Melissa and learn all about how we can apply hospitality principles to grow thriving teams. Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Growing Your Team podcast.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes. All right. Before we get started, can you take a moment and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Happy to. I'm Melissa Fackler. I am with One Team Partners. We are small business operations coaches and consultants. I come from a background of hospitality, so I actually got my degree in hospitality management from Cal Poly Pomona, and spent the first 10 years of my career really in the food and beverage and entertainment side of hospitality. So from hotels to venues, working with organizations in country music, just really diving into hospitality. And then through the pandemic, that really threw a wrench into our world and our industry and caused me to, what I now say have the privilege of, in the moment maybe didn't feel that way, but have the privilege of stepping back and kind of reassessing my life, my goals, what I was doing, what I loved, what I didn't love. And kind of came to this realization that, hospitality is in my blood. I will always love it. But there are so many elements of hospitality that can happen in any job And I was looking for something that allowed me to live a more balanced and sustainable life long term with work. The hospitality industry is a grind, and it can be exhausting and overwhelming, and burnout happens to most people in it, unfortunately. And so, when the opportunity arose to come be a part of this new company that was starting, one team was founded in 2020. And so when the opportunity came to join this team and really focus on helping small businesses do exactly that, find balance, be able to lead effectively, and still have a life while doing all of it, it was kind of a no-brainer to me that I wanted to join, and then be able to bring kind of the hospitality principles and background that I'd used for the first part of my career into this job. So it's been really interesting. It's been super rewarding. I have a life and I get to do fun things, and I'm not constantly working. So it has been a huge win for me.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, there's so many things that I want to dig into with you today. And I'm going to start with, kind of like why, I said yes to having you like here on the podcast. So this is, a podcast all about, teams. And one of the things that, came over when you're like, hey, I'd like to be on the podcast was, why we really need to, kind of view our teams as guests to
Mhm.
our companies and everything. And I think that's like one of those things that people don't think of because we're like, wait, a guest is a paying person, an employee is someone that I pay. So why? Let's kick us off. Why should we view our employees as guests?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could spend the whole podcast talking about that if you
I'm
want, Jamie,
sure.
but no, I think that, in hospitality, it is ingrained in us that the guest is always right. Everything we do is for the guest. You're constantly working for the guest. And that's similar in other industries too. We see it in healthcare with like nurses or doctors constantly being told about the patient, right? We do everything for the patient. It's very similar across multiple sectors. And what tends to happen when we do things that way is we're immediately burning out the people that matter because they constantly are working and striving towards this idea of, I can do a little bit more because it's for the guest or it's for the patient. And when we start to bring that same energy that we bring, that same care, passion, all of those things that we give to our guests or to our patients or to whoever our paying customer is, when you start to bring that same energy, that same respect, that same engagement to the people that are literally making the magic happen for you, you will see results are almost doubling statistically because when people feel cared about, when they feel supported, when they feel empowered, um, they want to do better, and then they want to perform for the guest, for the patient, for whoever that is. So when I was in hospitality, specifically when I worked for Hilton, there was a thing where any front desk member, there was like an allotted amount of money. I think it was like $1,000 a month that we were able to just give away in things to people, in a free night, in a free sending food up to the room, whatever that was, and you didn't need to ask permission. And by giving people the power to do that, gave made them want to make the guest experience better. And so if I just think if we are doing that for the people that work for us, if you are treating them with that same level, the results that you see from them are exponential.
Right. Yeah. And I think like, going back to like the very beginning, when you say like there's this concept that the guest is always right. And we have to be honest, the guest isn't always right, but we have to approach
Totally.
the situation of the guest is always right. So how do we make this good for the guest that even if they're far off on what they're thinking, we have to make them feel valued and heard and maybe say, well, we can't do this, but here's what we can do. So they walk away feeling that yes, okay, like I got what I needed out of that interaction. And I think
Yes.
that's so important with our team members as well. Like our team members might not always be right when something comes up or when there's conflict, but how do
Hmm.
we make them feel heard? How do we make them feel valued? How do we make it feel that when they walk away from something and they didn't get what they initially wanted or expected, they feel like they walked away with the right things?
Absolutely. And just to add one more layer to that, even like how often are we as leaders going into whatever conversation that is with the open mind that your employee is right? Like, I
Hmm.
think if we started to shift our brains and start going into it the same way that we go into a conversation with the guest, of knowing like the guest has the best of intentions, the guest deserves the best outcome possible, but I'm going to guide them to get to that result. And if we started going into conversations with our employees the same way, with that same forefront thinking of they had the best of intention, or they're working towards the same goal I am, they just have a different route of getting there, or whatever that is, I think we would see conflict decrease. I think the way that conversations happen would happen so much better. um so, it's just an interesting thing to start thinking about, is how do I also have the same thought that my employee is potentially always right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I there's so much that you say there that I just want to circle back to, like, when we look at things, especially when it comes to like onboarding and training, there's a lot of people that I work with. They're like, oh, my employee is not getting it. They
Mm,
must not be right for this job. And I
mm,
think and one of the things I try to train them on is, let's reframe this. Let's say, well, one, did we actually train our employees on what they needed to know? Or do we think we trained our employees, but really we skipped over parts because for us, it's second nature. For us, it's so ingrained in what we're doing. So we didn't realize that we had to train on this particular part. So that's like one
sure.
thing. The other thing is, well, let's look at the training. They approach that training from a different point of view than you approach that training. So maybe they took away everything that they thought was correct based off their point of view. And they need to be retrained because there's information that they missed without realizing that they missed. So I think that whole thing, when we approach it of from the best intention, that our
Yeah.
team members are not trying to be wrong. Like, that's one thing I tell people all the time. I'm like, very few team members are actually purposely trying to do their job bad. Like,
Yeah.
that is one in a million, where most of the time it's just a disconnect in communication. So when we focus there of like coming from that place of positive intent versus negative intent to start the conversation, it can really change things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that lens because it's so true. And I even do that with, at home. I have to remind myself of that too with my partner. Like, he's not purposefully doing, loading the dishwasher wrong. We still have the same end goal. And so I think that's just a great reminder for leaders too, is like, what is the big end goal? Are we working towards getting to the same space? And then where are the disconnects that are causing some tension that we can start to fix? Because that's
Yes.
way easier, right? It's way
Yes.
easier to fix the little things.
Right? Yeah. And I think that that example of the dishwasher is fantastic. So like you said, what is the end goal? And that is something like when I'm training on onboarding and like how to create onboarding and training plans, we always say, like, what does it mean to do something right? And
Mm,
then I always say, but why is that right? And sometimes we figure out that, well, it doesn't have to necessarily be that way to do something right. It's that way because it's my personal preference. So, loading the
hmm.
dishwasher, you might have your personal preference of how it's loaded. He might have his personal preference for how it's loaded. Both of them reach the same end goal. Well, why is one more right than the other
Right.
than personal preference? So it's like we have to sometimes learn to let go of our way and keep that end goal in mind. So I love hearing that because it's
Yeah.
so right. It's like, and it's one of those things that it really makes us hesitate about delegating things for the first time because we're like, is someone going to do it my way? And having to
Mm,
get out of our own way to say, well, my way might not be the best way, but what is the end goal? What does it mean to do this right?
absolutely. That's really interesting. So, are you familiar at all with the decision tree model?
I feel like I should be and possibly am, but I would say I haven't,
Yeah.
not in a, if I haven't thought about it in a while. So, and other people might not be familiar. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so it just kind of makes me think of that is the decision tree is basically a way to decide to get a team understanding on what they have the authority to make decisions on, what needs to be approved by someone, what are all of those things. And so just continuing with this dishwasher concept for a second, it makes me think of like if I'm not home, if I don't see the dishwasher get loaded, if I don't do any of those things and I come home to clean dishes, put away, I am the happiest human, right? Like it doesn't matter
Mhm.
how we got to that spot, but it's like if we're loading it together that I'm like, like this is not the way I want to do it, right? And so the decision tree concept is basically there's four types of decisions. So we have a leaf, a branch, a trunk, and a root. And so depending on the severity of a decision of what it can do to a company is kind of the levels of the decision, right? And so a leaf, if I cut a leaf on a tree, nothing happens. Like it might look a little bit ugly for a little while, but like nothing changes to the growth, the structure, any of those things. Even a branch, like again, might change it visually a little bit, but your tree's not going to die, nothing's going to happen, etc. A trunk is something that is, if I damage the trunk of the tree, we're probably having some bigger problems. And then obviously if I like cut a root, now we're like really severely damaging the tree. And so if we think about a decision tree in a company or in decision making with employees, we use this language at one team all of the time. And we will literally say, like, when we're assigning somebody or when we're talking about it, I'll say, like, this is a leaf. And people then know the level of what's expected of them. And so we've kind of adapted it and made our own, added some definitions and things. But basically, like, a leaf decision is you make the decision, you act on it. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to, there's nothing, it's just your thing. So it might be checking your emails. It might, a silly example is going to the bathroom. Like you don't need to tell your manager that you're getting up, you're going to the bathroom. You just do it, right? Like these are things that no one needs to know happened. They just get done. Then a branch, we make the decision, we act on it, and then we report when we need to. So like, hey, by the way, I ordered the next round of paper for the copier. Like you're just letting someone know that you did it. You didn't need permission and it's just being told as it happens. Then trunk decisions, we make it and then we report before we do it. So it's like, hey, I decided that I'm going to order business cards, wanted to double check that you're good with me spending blank amount of money. So you're not asking permission, but you're reporting this is the decision that I think is right. Am I good to move forward? A root decision is a team. We're coming together, we're brainstorming, we're, bringing the people in that need to be there, making the decision together. And so we love this decision tree and using it at work because it really helps people to feel like they have authority, power, decision making, all of those things. And it also holds the leader accountable to I don't need to be involved in that process. And as long as we know that we're getting working towards a goal, it doesn't matter how you do it. So a leaf and a branch, I don't care that you loaded the dishwasher however you loaded it. I just care that we have clean dishes in the pantry or in the cabinet, right? And so I think it's a really interesting language and vocabulary for teams to start using with each other because it it gives both people the autonomy to do it the way they want. And I think it's a really good reminder for the leader of like, I don't need to be involved in every decision or how they get somewhere as long as we're getting to that end goal.
Yes. Yeah. And I love, 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 love that concept because I feel like that's another thing that stands in people's way when it comes to feeling confident about being able to delegate. They're like, well, how do I step out of decisions? And I've seen this issue in small businesses where either that business owner holds all decisions, so it's like their team can't do anything without them, or sometimes they hand over the entire tree and root system, and then they're like, it's in someone else's hands. And then they realize these people are taking their business in a direction that they're like,
That
no,
they
no,
don't
no,
want
no,
it
no,
to
no,
go.
no, no.
Yeah.
So, this whole thing of like, you can let go of decisions. You don't need to be involved in every decision, but there's certain decisions you need to be involved in. I love, love that concept. And no, I actually didn't hear like that decision tree type thing. And
Yay.
I was thinking something where it's like, okay, if this happens, and you either go here or here, like that type of decision tree type thing. But
Yeah,
that is
no,
such a
different style.
great analogy. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's talk now about first impressions, because I know that's another thing that's really important in
Yes.
hospitality. But from talking to you, this is really important with our team members as well. So, why do first impressions matter when it comes to our teams?
Well, I think I love to flip this topic and think about it from both sides, because I think when we talk about a first impression, typically we're looking at it from the place of either the person that's like being hired or the employee, right? But people tend to forget that your company and your brand is also making a first impression on whoever you're, whether it's a client, whether it's a potential new hire, whoever that is, right? Like first impressions also matter in what you're putting out as a company to draw people in to want to work with you, to want to work for you. And so I think putting that lens on for people to start having conversations about, like, am I proud of the impression that my business is making to potential clients, to potential new hires? Because I know, like, a lot of our, most of our clients are small businesses. And typically in small business, you're starting as a solopreneur, team of 1 to 2, maybe starting to grow, getting it to grow. Maybe you're just a team of 1. And so a lot of the stuff that I would say is important to do at the beginning, maybe someone doesn't think they need to do right away. Like, oh, you know, I made a logo on Canva, it's good enough. I don't even know brand colors. I didn't know I should have a font. I just wanted to get a website up so I could get started. All of these things, right? Like values, value creation, like, oh, we'll do that when we're bigger. All of those things. And what they don't realize is whether you choose to do that or not, your brand is creating itself, your culture is creating itself. All of that is building, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And then that's the first impression that you're making when you're going out into the world as your business. So I just think it's so crucial for any team, but especially small business teams, to have these conversations about putting the energy into, really establishing what do we want people to feel right when they interact with us. And if we use the hospitality piece again, like if you think about a hotel, I mean, your first impression of them starts very early. It starts when you're either researching them and you're going to their website, or you're looking at pictures from, from Yelp or from their page or from whatever. It's when you call to ask a question. How do they answer the phone? Could I even talk to someone on the phone? It's when I'm checking in. What was the process? What did it smell like? What did it look like? How did I feel? Was I relaxed? Was I stressed? All of those things, most of them happen before you've even like started your journey with them, right? Like you haven't even checked
Right.
in and you have so many feelings about this business. And so I like to try to explain to my clients, like, the same exact experience is happening in whatever your business is. You just don't think about it that way because it's not checking into a hotel. But your clients, your new hires, whoever that is, they're still having all of those, that same journey that someone checking into a hotel has, with all of the experiences that they have engaging with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. And it's like one of the things I try to tell people, my clients all the time is onboarding starts before that first day. It
Absolutely.
is how do you make them feel welcomed before they even walk in that door on that first day? And I've had a client that lost a great candidate because they had that candidate sign the offer letter and then there was no communication. And the candidate's like, wait, like I'm supposed to be showing up for work tomorrow and I've heard nothing from you. Like, am I even supposed to show up? What time am I supposed to show up? What am I supposed to wear? Like all this stuff. And they're like, nope, I decided that I'm going to go and explore a different opportunity because they didn't feel welcomed by the company.
And it probably also felt like a red flag to them, like, oh, does this mean that this is their communication style? If this doesn't align with mine, if I'm an over communicator and I really like details and I want, and they're giving me none, then that could feel alarming to me as like, is this a value alignment place for me to work? So, I think we do a lot of work with our teams on values and really making sure that a business, a company has their core values established, and that we're then leaning into every decision that we make feeds from those values. So, if I'm at a crossroads and I don't know A or B, well, my values should answer very quickly if I should go A or B. And so, when we're building onboarding, when we're building these systems of how do I reach out to team members, all of those things, it should align with our company values and they should feel that just from engaging with us. It's not anything where we're, having to give them a printout of it. But when they then see them, they're like, oh, yeah, I've felt all of these 4 to 5 things.
Right. Exactly. It's one of those things when I'm working with clients, and a lot of times we'll talk about when I'm asking a bunch of questions to really learn about them so we know who to hire for them. We'll talk about culture. And there's so many people they'll say, well, I'm a business of one. I don't have a culture yet. And I'm like, yes, you do. I'm like, a
Yes,
part
you
of that culture
do.
is your communication style, how you communicate internally, how you communicate externally, what your expectations are. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that culture that is going to make someone feel comfortable or
Mhm.
is going to make someone feel like this is the worst place they've ever worked. And we need to know that so that way we can make sure we're bringing in the right person. We don't want to portray your company in a way that is not true to what they're going to experience when they walk in that door on the first day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and we at one team have almost done that a little bit aggressively on purpose. So like if you go to our website, our homepage, oneteampartners.com, you see at the top it says let's get big shit done. And we intentionally chose to use a word that might make some people uncomfortable because that is the way that we operate. We are transparent, we are authentic, we're showing up, we're rolling up our sleeves, and we're saying, hey, we got a bunch of stuff to do, let's get it done together, right? And so we knew, we were told by some different agencies like, hey, this is a, you might lose clients from this, and we said that's our goal. We want to, if that's not a right fit, we want them to self-diagnose that by coming to our page and deciding that for themselves. Hey, I don't think this is a place that I'm going to feel comfortable. Now, in the same vein, the amount of people that have reached out specifically because they're like, oh my gosh, I love your tagline at the top of your page, like, I know what to expect from working from you, has given us, a different layer of understanding with our clients. So I completely agree. It's about finding people that want to be in that environment because then you're both going to thrive, them and you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when it comes to a job post, like the same thing. Like I teach all my clients, we want a job post that turns people off because we
Mm-hmm.
want to have the right person be nodding their head and saying, "Yes, that is the place for me." We don't care about the people that this isn't the right job for.
Yeah.
If they deselect themselves from the process, it means we don't have to spend the time doing it ourselves. So it's like you want to exude what your culture is in everything you do so people can make the right decisions.
Absolutely.
All right. So before we start to wrap up today,
Yeah.
any last words of wisdom you'd like to share for anything? Like that anything we talked about today, anything we didn't? Like
What a
what comes to
loaded
mind that we
question.
haven't talked about yet?
Um, I mean, I think it really just does come back to like making people feel seen. And it's so easy for me with my background to continuously relate that back to the way that we do it for guests. But I think every person, whether you have never worked in hospitality a day in your life, like every person knows what it feels like when someone who's not your family or your best friend, right? But when a potential stranger or an acquaintance goes out of their way to do something so small that makes you feel so seen or so special. And I think if we as business leaders can find ways to put that effort in to make our team members feel that same amount of seen and special and cared for, you will see the return be huge. And it doesn't need to be financial, it doesn't need to be extravagant. I don't want people sitting here thinking like I have to go out and buy gifts for my team. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But finding ways to express your gratitude to them, finding ways to, give them a little bit more power of like, hey, I want you to make a decision on this and let me know what you decide. But like, I don't need to be in the process. Giving people those moments to show them I'm grateful you're here. I trust your decision. I hired you for a reason and you know what you're doing is the best thing I think a leader can do for their team.
Yes, exactly. And if anyone listening is trying to think of ideas of what you can do that don't cost a lot, go back and listen to episode 159 with Shannon Hughes, where we talk about how to motivate your team without spending money. We talk about a lot of ideas there on things you can do for your team that don't involve breaking your budget. So go
All right,
back and
I'm
listen to that
writing it
episode.
down. I also want to go back and listen. 159. Got it.
Yes. All right. So it's time to start wrapping up for today. So Melissa, tell everyone how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I didn't even get to, I didn't talk much about it, but we really believe in having accessible opportunities for small businesses. And so oftentimes coaching is a really expensive fee, and we see people immediately kind of get nervous about it. And so we've created a school community. It's only $20 a month to join, and that gets you access to not only a bunch of our resources and, really valuable tools, but we do weekly coaching calls. And so they are like open forum style. Sometimes it ends up being a one-on-one, depending on how many people show up. But we have 2 a week. So on Wednesdays, we do a regular big talk call. On Thursdays, we do a brand call. And it's just a really amazing platform for small business owners and leaders to get to come have these kinds of conversations with other leaders and with our coaches and learn more. If you send us an email, it's school. That's actually school with a K. So it's SKOOL at oneteampartners.com. And we'll put that link with Jamie as well. But if you send us an email and let us know that you heard from this podcast, then we'll give you a free month. So we would love to get people to come give us a try for a month and see if it's a right fit for you.
Perfect. Yes, we'll include that information in the show notes over at growingyourteam.com. Okay,
Amazing.
final question that I love to ask all my guests. We've all had leaders that have stood out to us in our lives. So think of a leader who has stood out to you and share one thing about them.
Yeah. He's gonna laugh so hard that this seems like was planted, but our CEO at One Team Partners, Carlo Odicino, is someone that I've known since I was 15. He was actually my theater director when I was in high school. And so it's a very full circle moment that 17 years later, I am working for his team. But Carlo truly is one of the best leaders that I've ever worked with. And the reason is everything that we talked about today. Carlo makes every person feel so seen and heard. His ability to give people authority without, he just believes in the people that he works with so much and understands that, like, he brought us on for a reason. We are beyond capable of what we do, and gives you that belief in yourself when you maybe don't even have it. The ability to do that and bring things out in his team members that we didn't even know we had is pretty astounding. So
Yes,
I'm going to give him the shout out.
Awesome. I love
Yeah.
hearing those stories of just people using their network and sometimes not even knowing, but you build these relationships, and years later, those relationships come back in a different way in your life. So it's like
Yeah.
always continue building and nurturing the relationships that you have, because you never know how people are going to impact you later.
Absolutely. I can tell you without 100% certainty, if you asked me when I was 15 years old if I would ever work for Carlo when he was, in life sciences, I would have been like, you're crazy. No, absolutely not. And here we are. So you never know.
Here you are. Yes. All right, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today on the Growing Your Team podcast.
Thanks so much, Jamie.
Are you ready to hire a new team member for your business, and you want to ensure you hire the person who can succeed in the role, make you happy, and positively impact your bottom line? Then let's talk and see how growing your team can help you master the art of hiring. Through bespoke hiring frameworks and comprehensive guidance, you will learn how to attract candidates who have the passion you desire and the skills needed to succeed. At Growing Your Team, women entrepreneurs and leaders work with us to help them expand their unique businesses by teaching them how to hire like a pro. Let's connect and see how we can help you. Send me an email at jamie@growingyourteam.com. That's Jamie, JAMIE @growingyourteam.com, or head on over to growingyourteam.com/jumpstart, with jumpstart being all one word, and let's talk about how you can become a confident leader who hires right every single time.